Okay, let's talk about this character, Thomas Blood. An unbelievable story, really. Born in Ireland, 1618, called himself Colonel Blood.
He certainly did, and quite a background, too. Not just some random rogue. His family had land, he was educated in England, even involved in the English Civil War.
Right, he switched sides, didn't he? Started royalist, then ended up with Cromwell.
Yeah, and that paid off for a while. He got land grants, became a justice of the peace. Things were looking up under the Commonwealth.
Until the king came back, Charles II, and the Restoration.
Exactly. The Act of Settlement in 62 basically pulled the rug out from under him financially. His land grants were gone. That seems to be the spark.
So he gets desperate, starts stirring up trouble.
You could say that. He gets involved in a plot to seize Dublin Castle, which fails spectacularly. Then he tries to kidnap the Duke of Ormond.
The king's man in Ireland.
The very same. That goes wrong too, and Blood becomes a fugitive, ends up fleeing to the Dutch Republic.
And mixes with enemies of England. Even the Duke of Buckingham is mentioned.
There are links, yeah.
Yeah.
Buckingham was a complex figure himself. Blood eventually sneaks back into England using an alias, Alof, posing as a doctor, apparently.
Hiding in plain sight, and then he goes after Ormond again.
Incredible, isn't it? Tries to kidnap or maybe even murder him right there in London. Pulled him out of his coach.
What was the plan there? Just grab him.
Apparently, they were going to take him to Tyburn and hang him. They even had a note prepared to pin on him explaining why.
That's audacious. But Ormond escaped.
He did. He fought back, managed to get away. And even though there was a reward out, Blood wasn't caught. Nobody seemed to connect him to it.
Which is wild. Maybe people suspected bigger players like Buckingham.
Possibly. It certainly shows the chaotic atmosphere of the time, and it sets the stage for, well, his most famous escapade.
Right. So months after trying to kill a duke, he decides to aim even higher.
Much higher. The crown jewels themselves.
Okay, so how did he even get close? This wasn't just smash and grab.
No, far from it. This was a con job. April or May 1671, Blood shows up at the Tower of London dressed as a parson. He's got a female companion pretending to be his wife.
Playing the respectable visitor.
Exactly. They go to the jewels, and the wife pretends to have a sudden illness. This gets them sympathy from the master of the jewel house, Talbot Edwards. An older fellow, 77.
Ah, so they work on him.
Precisely. They get invited into Edwards' private quarters above the jewel house. Blood comes back later, brings gifts, gloves for Mrs. Edwards. He builds trust.
Laying the groundwork. What was the final lure?
He proposes a marriage. He invents a wealthy nephew who he suggests would be a perfect match for Edward's daughter. Promises a good income.
Classic manipulation. Playing on their hopes.
It worked perfectly. Edwards agrees to introduce the nephew.
So the day arrives, May 9th, 1671.
That's the day. Blood shows up with his nephew, actually his son, and two other accomplices. They're all supposedly there for this introductory dinner.
And he asks Edwards to show the lads the jewels while they wait.
You got it. Edwards agrees. He takes them down to the jewel house. Back then, it was basically a basement room in the Martin Tower, behind a metal grill. Not exactly Fort Knox.
And Blood's friends were armed.
Oh, yes. They had rapier blades, daggers, even pocket pistols hidden inside their walking canes.
So Edwards lets them in.
And the trap is sprung. They throw a cloak over Edward's head, hit him with a mallet, bind him, gag him. They even stabbed him slightly, apparently just to subdue him. Brutal stuff.
Then they grab the jewels. How did they plan to carry them?
Well, that's where it gets almost comical. The imperial state crown was too big to hide. So Blood flattened it with the mallet and stuffed it under his parson's cloak.
Flatten the crown.
Can you imagine? And the scepter with the cross was too long, so one of them started filing it in half.
Filing it. In the middle of a heist.
Right there. And the sovereign's orb just got stuffed down someone's trousers. It was frantic, clumsy almost.
But Edwards, he didn't stay down.
Amazingly, no. Despite the attack, he somehow worked the gag loose. And then he starts shouting, "Treason! Murder! The crown is stolen."
Oh, wow. That must have thrown a spanner in the works.
Big time. Panic stations. They grab what they have and run for it, heading for horses they'd left waiting near St. Catherine's Gate.
Did they get away clean?
Not quite. In the rush, they dropped the sawn-off part of the scepter. A guard tried to stop them, and they fired a pistol, wounding him. But the alarm was out.
So the chase is on.
Yeah, Edwards' son, who'd been away, returns just then. Here's the commotion. His brother-in-law, the Captain Beckman, joins the pursuit.
And they catch up to Blood.
They do. Beckman confronts Blood near the Iron Gate. Blood takes a shot at him with a pistol but misses. Beckman tackles him.
So caught red-handed. With
It
the flattened crown presumably nearby.
it fell out from under his cloak when he was tackled. And Blood's reaction when caught, absolutely defiant.
What did he say?
The quote that's always repeated is, "It was a gallant attempt, however unsuccessful. It was for a crown." Pure nerve.
Unbelievable. And the others?
His son and the other main accomplice, Para, were also captured. The orb was recovered, though maybe missing a few stones. They got most of it back.
You'd think that's it. Tower, trial, execution, end of story.
That's what should have happened. But Blood pulls another stunner. He refuses to talk to anyone except King Charles II himself.
He demands an audience with the king after trying to steal his crown.
Bold doesn't even cover it. And amazingly, the king agrees. Blood is brought before Charles, Prince Rupert, and others.
What happens in that meeting?
The king, apparently quite curious, asks him straight up, "What if I should give you your life?"
And Blood's answer.
He says, "I would endeavor to deserve it, sire." A mix of, well, maybe cheekiness and promise.
And the king buys it.
Incredibly, yes. Charles II pardons Thomas Blood. Not only pardons him, but grants him lands back in Ireland worth £500 a year. A huge sum, then.
Pardon? After treason, attempted murder, theft of the crown jewels, what about Ormond?
Ormond was furious, naturally. Disgusted. And think about Talbot Edwards, the poor guy who got beaten and stabbed.
Right, what happened to him?
The Edwards family got a reward, but it was less than £300, and apparently they never even received it all. Edwards went back to being keeper of the jewels, telling his story to visitors until he died in 1674. His tomb's still there in the Tower Chapel.
So why? Why would the king pardon him? It makes no sense.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Theories abound. Was Charles genuinely scared of reprisals from Blood's shadowy network?
Or maybe just amused, found the whole thing entertaining. Blood was quite a character.
Some think that. Or maybe Blood flattered him somehow. There's a story Blood claimed he'd once planned to assassinate Charles, but was overcome by awe when he saw him.
Playing the king's ego.
Or, and this is the really scandalous theory, was the king somehow involved? Charles was always short of cash. Could he have secretly commissioned the theft, planning to blame Blood if it went wrong?
Wow, that's quite a thought. Probably unlikely, but...
It's speculation, of course, but it fits the strangeness of it all. Blood then becomes this figure around the court. Quite bizarre.
A known jewel thief hanging out at court.
Yeah, even working as an advocate or agent in legal cases. He even got into a dispute with his old associate, the Duke of Buckingham, and was convicted in a lawsuit, though he never paid up.
His luck just kept holding. What happened in the end?
He died in 1680. But even that wasn't straightforward. There were rumors he'd faked his own death to dodge debts. They actually had to exhume his body to prove he was really dead.
Good grief. Even in death, he caused trouble.
Absolutely. His epitaph is pretty scathing, basically saying good riddance.
But didn't his family turn out okay?
Surprisingly, yes. His son, Holcroft Blood, the one involved in the heist, became a distinguished military engineer. Other descendants also had respectable careers. Quite the contrast to the family patriarch.
It's just an astounding story. The sheer nerve of the man, the absurdity of the heist, and that, pardon, it really makes you pause.
It does. What does it tell you about the Restoration era? About Charles II, about Blood himself? Was he just a brazen opportunist or something more complex?
Was it luck, charm, or was there something darker going on behind the scenes with the king?
We'll likely never know for sure. But the story of Colonel Blood trying to steal the crown jewels and somehow talking his way into a pardon and pension, well, it's one for the ages.
Definitely leaves you wondering about the line between villainy and, I don't know, sheer unbelievable audacity.